If you just want to do inner child healing, that's fine. You can do just inner child healing. But sometimes people discover that they need to go further back than just the childhood in this life. And so inner child healing is connected with past life regression healing that comes through past life regression. How? Why? Because you as a child, you come into this world, you already know, your soul already carries your life purpose, you already know what you came here to do, and the moment you're born, you forget. And then trauma happens based on whatever you experience in this life, based on what your parents experience. So anything that your parents are experiencing, you're absorbing. It doesn't just have to be your mother. It doesn't have to be that your mother was stressed when she was pregnant with you. It could be your father was stressed, or your father was abusive, but also maybe he wasn't abusive, but he was just having like mental issues that were not maybe affecting your mother, but you absorbed it because it's energy and it goes everywhere. It doesn't have to be directly a physical experience, okay? It's imprints that are done energetically. And so when we do this healing, why does it work? Because it's energetic. Theta healing, it's energetic. Different modalities of healing, they're energetic, because your soul is much greater than this physical body. This physical body is your vessel to be in this life. You already chose. You chose you're going to have this body. You chose you're going to have this experience. You chose this planet. You chose your parents. You chose all these things. But then the moment you're born, you forget. So not only are you affected by things that happen when you're a child growing up, and some people, I have clients who tell me, I did a session for a new client, I think it was maybe a week and a half ago, and I was asking her about her childhood, and she said, I had a great childhood. My parents loved me. I loved my parents. I had a great childhood, and I was happy. But I don't know why I feel so lost. I don't know why I feel like I have this pain that is coming from somewhere. I don't know why I feel the need to suffer. I don't know why I feel like I'm not good enough. I had a perfect childhood. And so when we did our session, I found out that there is ancestral trauma that was passed on. And actually she's Armenian, like me. And so you don't have to be Armenian to have gone through a lot of trauma. You know, both Armenians and Jews and many, many other cultures and nationalities have experienced a lot of trauma and genocides. And so there's a lot of ancestral trauma that gets passed on. But you don't have to be any of these nationalities in order to have trauma in this life, because guess what? You may have been that nationality in a past life. Your goal as the entire point of coming back is to clear karma. So in each life, you are to clear karma. And so if you don't clear it, you come back again, and it will be most likely more difficult. So if in one life you have a prejudice against a certain nationality, most likely in your next life, you are going to reincarnate as as a person of that nationality, of that national origin, because your goal is to learn. I had a friend who found out that one of her friends had killed her in her past life. And so there's always been some kind of like fear. There's always some kind of fear with her. There was always some kind of a feeling of discomfort. But, you know, their souls agreed to come back to this life and to have this interaction again and to have this friendship. So at times you may meet some people, and they don't have to be friends. I have so many clients that I've done sessions with all over the world. I mean, and I'm all of a sudden, some of the friends that I've made from all over the world, I may have regressions where I see I was married to one of them. They're part of my soul tribe. We lived in the same tribe in that particular Native American life. It's all connected. And so when people go, and if someone, if you have this experience, and then go tell your friends or family, oh my God, I had this regression and I saw myself, I was a king of, Egypt, and I had an army. Or, oh my God, I saw that I was in the 18th century and I was living in Paris and I had, I was a queen, or I was a servant, or, and you mom, or you, your boyfriend or husband or whatever, or girlfriend, and you were my daughter, or you were my, and then what happens is you get so excited, you want to tell the story. And then if they don't believe that, they're going to go, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't believe it. And if that happens, it doesn't mean that what you experienced didn't happen. It's just that's their current level of consciousness. So it's what they choose to believe and not believe. And so that's why a lot of times you don't want to like let out that air of excitement. You might want to just journal about it. And so if those people don't believe, and they may say, oh, why do you need to go back to the past? Why do you need to dig up the past? Like, who cares? Who cares what happened in the past? Like, why do you need to dig it out? Well, because once again, there are lessons. So, if you have a certain type of physical pain in this life, if you have a certain type of a physical pain in this life, it's most likely because you had this injury in a past life. So if sometimes people see one injury, but then they don't heal. Well, it's probably because there was something else that happened. So just because you have whatever, a neck ache and your right leg hurts, and then you see one life where you were shot in the right leg, but then the pain doesn't go away still, even though your soul. So the whole point of seeing this is so that once you see that this happened in the past, then you no longer need to suffer in this. So the pain can instantly be gone. The fear of water can instantly be gone when you see, well, you drowned in that life. You're not in that life anymore. You don't need to be afraid of water in this life, because this is not that life. You're afraid of water in this life up until this point because you had this fear that you inherited from that life. So that's why in the one-on-one, I can go even deeper, so that, because sometimes your soul can be very stubborn. The subconscious can be stubborn and say, well, no, I don't think she's ready to heal. Well, no, she's not. No. Okay. What is the logical explanation we can find? For example, if someone is overweight, and they're overweight because in one life they were constantly maybe sexually abused, and so they had a beautiful thin body, and then they got sexually abused, and so then they decided to cover themselves up, and so in this life they decide to put on all this weight so they don't attract as much attention. Now that's the subconscious, that's the soul. But you as this physical human with your mind go, why can I lose this weight? Why can I lose this weight? Because your subconscious is like, we don't want anyone looking at us. We want to keep ourselves safe, okay? And so people don't realize that they have, and then sometimes they'll have like some kind of a thyroid issue, because once again, it is passed on through this other lifetime. And so the goal of past life regression is so that you see, okay, once you see it happened then, and then the goal is to register that so that you no longer have to be in pain. But if it doesn't go away, that means there's something else to go deeper. So just because you were shot in the leg and know that, you may go back to another life and see you were also, maybe at some other point your leg was cut off. You were injured in the war and they had to cut off your leg. So or you were shot with an arrow, bow and an arrow, and the arrow hit your leg. So there's several different kinds of injuries that may have happened. So that's just one part of it. And then this is also very powerful for relationships, for figuring out, why do you keep looping back to the same toxic person? Why can't you move on from, abuse in this life from a past marriage, or even if it's just a relationship? It kind of just opens up this understanding. So you have this deeper understanding, and you don't continue to worry about life the way you worried about life, because now you understand, I chose this. I chose these experiences. I chose to see these things. I chose this life to work on this stuff. And if you don't work on it, then you're gonna have to come back and work on it again. And so then there's times where, I'm a perfect example where I had this person, we had made soul contracts that we're gonna meet on a particular weekend in Huntington Beach at a particular retreat and it's going to be the weekend of 11/11/11, and this is going to happen, and it's and like all the work that we both were supposed to do was to prepare for this divine union. But he didn't do the work to prepare. And so then it wasn't going to work no matter what he tried, because he didn't do the work to prepare before meeting me. So I wasn't going to stay and be the martyr and go, let me just be the victim of your ill preparation and your toxic behavior. It wasn't just like something small. There was a lot, okay? And I wasn't going to sacrifice my life, because I looked ahead. As intuitive as I am, I looked ahead and go, my next 2 years of my life are going to be a nightmare, and this is not going to happen. And so I chose to save myself. I chose to save myself. And then not months, but over a year and a half later, maybe even longer, I don't know, I'm losing track of time, but I'm doing a session for a couple who had been married for 8 years, and that's exactly what they went through. And she's like, oh my God, I wish I would have left him after 4 months. Like, this wouldn't happen. Now 2 kids later, 8 years later, and she's going through what they should have gone through in the beginning. And the reason why it started is because during one of my free IG live throat chakra balancing sessions, both of them tuned in, and all of a sudden he had this like realization and courage to speak his truth. So he told her everything, all the unfaithful stuff, and their whole marriage unraveled. And now they're, doing therapy, they're doing theta healing. So the point is, it doesn't always have to, just because you made this contract, it does not mean that you absolutely have to work the karma. You have free will. And how do you resolve karma so you can move forward? So even though him and I had this karma, this agreement that we're going to help each other awaken more, and we're going to teach together, we're going to continue raising the consciousness of the world together. Like we had we're going to get married. We had this contract. Even though that was a contract, because he wasn't ready, it does not mean I have to suffer. It does not mean I have to keep trying to make it work. And it does not mean that I have to come back and try again in the next life if I know how to dissolve it in this life. So if I heal in this life, and I resolve the karma in this life, and he doesn't necessarily need to be present for that. Maybe a very stubborn soul like this particular person who just keeps coming back, but I just keep building shields and I keep sending him back. I mean, there's times he'll appear, he'll sit next to me on the couch and start telling me how much he misses me and he wants to try again. And I'm like, no. For a while it was really like, oh my God, just leave me alone. And then there'd be a full moon and I'd get really emotional and I'd cry. Why can't he leave me on that? So I had to do a lot of work, because some people are so like they court you so strongly, and he had courted many other women so strong. That's why he couldn't burn through. That's why they couldn't burn through. And I'm like, get me out of this. I'm burning through. Get me out of this. I want to get out. And that was the beginning of this journey of me stepping into my power as a healer, because I had been a healer in many past lives before, but I didn't know. When I was younger, when I was in college, I wanted to become a doctor. I wanted to go to medical school because I always had this inclination to help people heal, to nurture. And, I'd see visions and I'd see these things, and I never understood what it means. And so because I chose the pain, I looked at this pain, and it was so painful. I looked at this pain as a gift, because if you don't look at the pain as a gift, then you are choosing to be a victim. And you're choosing to be a victim, and as long as you're choosing to be a victim, you will continue to be a victim. You will continue to suffer. And then you're looping, you're circling, you'll keep attracting the same type of people in different bodysuits who are going to teach you similar lessons. They may not be exactly the same, but they will teach you the same lessons until you learn. And if you don't learn, it's going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening. Okay. And it's going to affect your children. It's going to affect your future lives. It's going to affect your future children. So when you're healing, when you're doing this work, you are clearing generations behind you and generations ahead of you. Okay. So it is really important for you guys to know that this is why you're here. And this is why many of you have taken several workshops because you know it's helping you.